Hey guys, for those of you who don't know, my name is Vanessa Preston and I'm from Green Life Psychology. And today I'll be talking to you about some tips to managing anxiety. One of the things that I would really encourage you to do is pause this video and grab something to write with. Just because it is such a good way of making sure you retain the information that I share, especially if it resonates for you. So pause this and grab pen and paper and write down what you find useful so you remember it. Okay, so a useful metaphor that I often talk about with clients is sort of comparing anxiety to a smoke detector. And so anxiety is our body's alarm system, and it activates our fight or flight response, which is so important to helping us survive. So it will warn us if, hey, there's danger here, there's a threat here, and you need to do what you can to stay safe. That includes some stress hormones. That includes a little part of the brain called the amygdala that activates the response I'm talking about. So really, anxiety can be pretty damn life-saving. It's our body's way of trying to protect us. The issue is that, like a smoke detector, right? So smoke detector, it goes off, it lets us know there's danger, get to safety, right? Really important stuff. But a smoke detector can also start beeping like crazy because I've burnt toast or cookies. And then I'm sort of going like, you know how you like fan the smoke detector, like it's fine, it's just burnt toast, it's just burnt cookies, like chill out, calm down, turn off. Anxiety can do that too, right? So if we're in a crowded shopping center and there's a lot of people really close to us and it feels really loud, and you might be sort of hot or sweaty, and you might notice your heart rate's going up. What can happen is the smoke detector can sort of sound the alarm, but it's really just, I'm in a shopping center, my senses are sort of overwhelmed. It's not necessarily there's danger here. And so I really like this metaphor, and I would encourage you to use that yourself, that, okay, this is my body's smoke detector, this is my body's alarm system, and it's trying really hard to make sure I'm safe. But sometimes it gets mixed messages, and I need to do a few things to switch off that stress response, that fight or flight response, and do a few things to remind myself I'm safe and okay, and there really is no danger here. So yeah, watch on, and I'll try to share some tips to help you guys do that. Okay, guys, so a concept that I talk about all the time, I joke that I'm a broken record with this. My clients know very well. They probably like have me, I don't know, in their dreams saying these words. But the concept I want to share is self-compassion. And I want to be really clear that self-compassion is not the same as self-pity, okay? Self-compassion very much holds that other people are struggling, but it also validates that I am too, and I don't have to compare my struggle to someone else's. And then it's about choosing to be kind to yourself in that moment. So if you are struggling with anxiety and you are struggling with high stress levels, and maybe that causes you to parent in a way that you're not, completely proud of all the time, or maybe it means that you avoid going out places. Anxieties can have such an impact on our lives. And so one of the best things you can do for yourself is self-compassion. Be kind to yourself. And the exercise that I give consistently to clients is to really ask themselves, how would I speak to a good friend in this situation? And I sort of always joke, like, I know what we're talking about is serious, but I'll sort of say to people, okay, so you started experiencing anxiety, the stress levels went up, and you felt like you were going to have a panic attack. And you may have sort of cracked it at your kids. And what would you say to a friend if your friend called and said, I've just cracked it at the kids, I feel like crap, and I'm feeling so anxious? Like, you'd probably respond to your friend in a really kind, loving way, right? You'd probably say, oh, we've all been there. Don't worry about it. Let's chat about it, and I'm here for you. Okay? But for some reason, with ourselves, when we're in that tricky situation where, again, maybe we've cracked it at our kids and we're beating ourselves up about it and we're feeling pretty anxious and stressed out, the way we tend to talk to ourselves is, what's wrong with you? You're such a terrible mother. You're such a terrible father. You're doing damage to your kids. Anxiety, toughen up. Get on with it. Come on. Basically, quit being so damn weak. That's the way we tend to talk to ourselves in these moments. If you haven't heard anything else I've shared today, I really want you to hear, please start practicing being kinder and more compassionate to yourself. Criticizing yourself is just not helpful. It's going to leave you vulnerable to feeling ashamed, and it's going to be harder to even change the things that you want to change. So, self-compassion. Take a pause, take a breath, and really ask yourself, how would I speak to a friend in this situation? Okay? That can really help us examine what self-talk and how am I criticizing myself, and how can I bring in an element of being kinder to myself. So, self-compassion. Please implement it, you guys. So, one strategy that I talk about with clients who are struggling with anxiety or even panic attacks is called grounding. And so grounding is a set of techniques that help us sort of reconnect with our senses and reconnect with the environment around us and sort of get out of our head a little bit. So the most sort of basic grounding technique that I teach is sort of sitting down, if you can, putting both feet on the ground, and really tuning in to your senses. And so the first thing is to notice 5 things that you see around you. I like to choose a color. So when I'm practicing grounding, it might be, okay, Vanessa, what's 5 things I see that's blue? And I might go, okay, well, the book in front of me, the picture of the ocean, the sky outside, and yeah. So grounding, name 5 things around you that you see and choose a color. And then you do 4 things that you hear. And so again, if I'm coming to my senses and reconnecting with my body, 4 things I hear. Obviously hear my voice. I hear the birds outside my window. I sort of hear the hum of the traffic. Yeah. And then 3 things that you feel. And I don't necessarily mean what emotion you're feeling, but more what physical sensation. So it might be that I'm feeling the support of the ground under my feet. It might be that I sort of feel the softness of the chair that I'm sitting on. I might feel, what am I feeling? The softness of my sweater and the warmth of the scarf. And then the next step is 2 things that you smell. So this might be a little bit trickier. but maybe I smell the essential oils that are here, or maybe I have a candle lit and I smell that. Maybe one of my favorite things to do is to sort of just be near the water in the sand. So I might smell sort of the saltiness of the water. And then the last step is one thing that you taste. That might be sort of simply noticing, oh, my mouth feels a bit dry, or you might actually carry around some mints or something like that. So pop one in your mouth and so then you can really sort of come back to that sense of taste and sort of noticing the crunchiness of the mint or the sort of spiciness of it. So again, I'm going to review. That's called grounding techniques. It's using your senses, and it's really, really helpful to sort of reorient us to our bodies and to the environment, and again, get out of our heads. So I'll sort of recap. Grounding. 5 things that you see, choose a color. 4 things that you hear. 3 things that you feel. 2 things that you smell, and 1 thing that you taste. And then once you've sort of gone through that process, take a deep breath and just notice, has that helped you get out of your head? Has that calmed anything for you? This can be, if you do have kids and they are struggling a little bit with anxiety, this can be a great thing to teach them. You can even sort of work with them to create what's called a grounding kit. So in the grounding kit, there might be things of different sort of texture. It might be a few things that are their favorite color. It might be something that has their favorite scent. Google grounding kit if you want more ideas, but it's a great activity, whether for your child or as an adult, putting together a little bit of a grounding kit next to your bed. So that is one tip for anxiety. Okay, guys. So another tip I want to share with you in trying to manage anxiety is breathing. And honestly, when I've suggested breathing exercises in session with clients, sometimes it's sort of dismissed, which, I totally get it. But the reason that I suggest breathing is because it is the best window into your rest and digest, which is the part of the nervous system that helps you relax. And so breathing, so important. So I thought I would share 2 techniques, and I want to keep it really doable so you can implement this if you're in a shopping center and you're feeling really overwhelmed. Even if you're in the car and stuck in traffic, if you're at home with kids and feeling really overwhelmed about that, I always joke with my clients, go to the bathroom. I mean, I know sometimes kids follow you there. But anyways, sitting on the toilet and doing a little bit of breathing can be really helpful. So strategy number 1 is called the 4-7-8 breathing technique. And so with the 4-7-8 breathing technique, you breathe in for 4. And you really want to get that air into sort of your diaphragm, not just sort of shallow breathing in your chest. So deep, slow breath for 4 counts, holding it for 7 counts, and then out for 8. And so again, that's deep breath for 4 counts, holding it for 7, and then out for 8. Now, if you do those counts and it doesn't really work for you, make up your own. The main part is that sort of sequence of breathing in, holding it, and breathing out. Ideally, you'd like the exhale to be longer than the inhale. That's the 4-7-8. The other one is a little bit more simple and it doesn't have counting. So I know some people, counting just isn't their thing. So this is a breathing technique where you breathe deep to your heart So, right, you just sort of picture the air coming into your heart area. And then you picture taking the next breath into sort of your ribs. And then the third breath, you picture sort of bring it all the way down to your belly button. And that's it, and repeat. And so it is really sort of having that deepening of the breath. So imagine breathing to your heart, and then to your ribs, and then to your belly button. And one of the tips that I have for breathing techniques is practice this every day, okay? And it doesn't have to be this huge, it doesn't have to be this huge meditation that you do at 4 a.m. for an hour every day, okay? Ain't nobody got time for that. If you do, good on you. But practice breathing every day. So even if it is on your drive to work, or even if it is when you wake up, lay in bed for just 10 extra seconds and practice one of these breathing techniques. Because if you've practiced daily, when you need to implement the breathing to help deactivate anxiety, you will be more effective at doing it. If we only practice the breathing when we're 10 out of 10 stressed and anxious and potentially on the verge of a panic attack, it's not the sort of ideal time to master the breathing techniques. So to summarize, breathing, so important. It is the best way to calm and regulate your nervous system and deactivate that anxiety. And two of the techniques that I've shared is 4-7-8, and then the breathing into your heart, your ribs, and your belly button. So I would love if you guys commented whether you've tried breathing techniques, or if you have other ones I haven't suggested that's worked really well for you. I would love to have a comment. I also wanted to leave you guys with a resource. And so one of, I think, the most popular books, and for good reason, is called Hey Warrior. And it's, let me see who it's by, Karen Young. And it is a children's book that does such a beautiful job of explaining anxiety and the way that it can manifest physically. And it sort of frames anxiety as, being this way of trying to keep us safe and protected. And it does a great job of normalizing it. So if you have kids, I would definitely recommend buying that book, sitting down and having a read. Even if you don't have kids, I still recommend adults read this book. It does, like I'm saying, such a good job of explaining anxiety and really without a bunch of jargon. So kids or no kids, I recommend this book. Okay, so I think the last thing that I want to share with you guys is, if you've watched this video and you are thinking that, you do suffer from anxiety, if it's getting in the way of you leaving your home, if it's getting in the way of your relationships or your parenting, if it's led to you sort of avoiding a lot in your life, please seek out therapy. I know there's still a little bit of stigma around getting support for your mental health, which I hope continues to sort of change. But I do want you guys to know some sort of key programs, at least here in Australia. So one is Medicare will pay 10 rebates per calendar year. And all you have to do to access that is see your GP, talk to them about what's going on, and request a mental health care plan. If you're sort of struggling financially, you can ask the GP about a clinic or a service provider that will be willing to bulk bill you, so then there's no gap. So that's one thing. resource I want you guys to keep in mind is seeing your GP and getting a mental health care plan. That gives you 10 sessions in the year. The other programs is there's Headspace. That's a program for sort of adolescents. And then in terms of, like an after hours support, there's Lifeline, which is a fabulous service. And the number for that is 13 11 14. And Lifeline is open 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. So if you are struggling with your mental health or a level of sort of self-harm or suicidal ideation, please give them a call. So there's always help and support available. One of the things I think that's happened as a result of COVID is a lot of psychology and counseling clinics have made their services more accessible through telehealth. So that's either on your phone or on a video session online. So this means that if it's just on a practical level too hard to access face-to-face sessions, then you can link in with someone who can see you from the comfort of your own home. So please don't judge yourself if some of this resonates for you and you are sort of thinking, okay, yeah, I need extra support. It's a really normal part of the human condition to need extra support sometimes, and that's okay. So I really want to thank you guys for watching and listening, and I would be more than happy if you want to leave me some questions below, and I'll do my best to answer them for you. Thanks, guys.